Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. We're putting the Dresden Plate block on point. So if you want to see how to make a block like this, please stay tuned. If you've been watching my Whip It Wednesday videos, you've seen this Dresden Plate on point before, but today I'm going to show you how to actually do it. Right now I've made 3 blocks, so here's one. Okay, and then this one I've already shown on one of my videos, and I actually have 2 of these. And these Dresden plates I actually made probably, I finished them in July of 2016, so almost 2 years ago. I made all of these Dresden plates with scrap fabric that I had. I used a Dresden ruler, and I created these. I made 2 videos about it, one about how to make the plate itself, and then one about setting it on this. I actually made 3, and then one about putting the black center. Okay, so you can check those videos out to learn how I made these blocks. Right now what I'm doing is setting these blocks on point so that I can get a bigger space for quilting. Okay, so they start out for me, they start out like this. So I've already made 12 of these, and right now I have 9 more that need to be sewn. Okay, today for the video we're going to make 2. I normally make 2 at a time because I use one block as a leader ender for the next block. So I make 2 of these at a time. The fabrics that I use for these are actually, these are some of the fabrics that I have. This kind of purple batik, a light blue, a darker blue, and then you've seen this before from the graduation quilt. And then the last one, one of the ones that we're gonna do today is this this green. And the way that I came across most of these fabrics, I gotta get my box, was when I go to the quilt shop, there's some things that I do like just for myself. There are typically 3 shops that I go to that are near my area, within like an hour drive, and one of them is the one we'll talk about today, the Georgia Sewing and Quilting shop. It's in Beaufort, Georgia, so it's about 45 minutes from where I live. And every time I go, I get a lot of fabric, but only for one specific project. But then they have what's called a mystery gift box. And so you get a box like this, it's all taped up, and it costs $10. It says $10 right here, and you're guaranteed 4 yards of fabric. So you'll get at least 4 yards of fabric in each one of these boxes. But the catch is you don't know what's in it. Okay, so with this particular box, I ended up getting, let's see, several of these pieces came in this box. This green, and then there's a shirting fabric that's on another block, and one of these other ones, I don't remember which one, but there's still 2 in here, and I just want to take it out and show you, to give you an example of the size that you could get. So this one right here, you know, it's about a yard, probably a little over a yard, with the fabric. Okay, so, and then there's one more. Both of these came in this particular box. This one is a polka dot, and these didn't make the cut for this quilt, but of course I'll find something to do with them later on. And again, this is about a yard. Okay, so these are 2 of probably 4 pieces that I got, and many of the pieces are pretty big. Okay, some of the ones I was able to get 2 of, enough for 2 blocks of putting these on point. In this one I also got, it's a pattern. It's called Home Tweet Home, and it's a birdhouse pattern, and it was just sitting in the bottom of this. So for $10 I got at least 4 yards of fabric and a pattern. The only catch was I didn't know what it was at first. Alright, so I was thinking, you know, how to use these fabrics, and then when I decided to put these Dresden plates on point, I remembered that I did have this, and I opened it up and I was able to use it. one thing that that I have to tell you is that when I started working with many of these fabrics, I was a very new quilter, and there is a debate about whether to wash fabrics or not wash them or whatever. So since these were all scrap fabrics, because I used to be a fabric washer, that's what I did before I did all my quilts. So all of these fabrics had been pre-washed. Because of that, I also had to pre-wash this backing fabric, this gray, and the circle inside. Because I washed all of these fabrics, then before I cut into any of my background fabrics for this, these have already been washed as well. Okay, so I've already started cutting these into squares, but I did pre-wash them first. You don't have to do that, especially if you didn't wash any of your other fabrics. So since I've washed, I washed all of the Dresden plates, so I had to wash all the other fabric. Now, the key to setting these on point is actually an idea that I got from Jenny Doan on the Missouri Star YouTube page. To put these on point was to cut another square that's the same size as this square. And so that's what I'm going to do today. My squares measure about 17 inches, and so I'm cutting from each of these pieces two 17-inch squares. In order to do one block, you have to have two squares. So that's where we're going to start. I'm going to start by cutting this green. I'll cut it on camera so that you can see it, and then we'll get started. I have my fabric already laid out. It's been pressed already, and it's folded in half. I'm going to fold it one more time so that I can begin cutting. This cutting does not have to be perfect. I'm just going to do the best I can. I actually don't have a ruler that's large enough to cut a 17-inch square, so I'm just going to cut it here on the mat. Since it doesn't have to be perfect, I'm not going to be super stressed about it. I'll do my best to get a good square, but stuff happens. So I'm using my 6 by 24 inch ruler to do these cuts, and I've done my best to line up the bottom of my fabric along one line of the mat. I'm going to check to make sure that I don't have any extra hanging over here, and I'm going to cut along the 1-inch line. So I'm just lining my ruler up here on the 1-inch line, and I'm just going to give it a cut. Alright, so for the next part, since I am left-handed, I usually turn the ruler, but I don't have to because it's so wide that I don't really need to do that, but I'm going to do it. And since I need 17-inch squares, I'm going to line up my ruler on the 18-inch line because the other cut was made at 1 inch, so to get my 17 inches, I need to go to the 18-inch line, line it up, and give it another cut. Okay, this would probably be enough to do, well, almost enough, not quite enough to do another square, but I am going to set this aside because it could be something I can use for the binding. And so for these, I have some decent sized pieces that I've set aside that I may use when I bind the quilt. From this point, I'm just going to turn it in. I'm going to turn it to the left here so that my selvages are on the left, and then line up my line up the edge of my fabric along one of the lines, keeping in mind that it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to, now I'm lining up on the 22-inch line just because it's the closest line to where my selvages are. Line it up there and give a cut. Okay. These are going to go into my little dog bed, so they're complete waist. They're waist now. Alright, I'm flipping my ruler around again. If you have a rotating mat, that could be very cool and very helpful. Now from this point, since this side is on the 22-inch line, to to line it up, I think I have to put it at the 4 line, but I'm going to count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Just kidding, the 5 line. 22 minus 17 is 5, not 4. Okay, so from here, double check and make sure we're in line. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just doing my best here. And then one more cut. This part is going to go towards the binding. I'm going to keep that in a separate little box. From this step, the next thing to do is I do have it folded, so there are 2 squares here. I'm going to cut it along the diagonal. Just one diagonal. Okay, so it'll leave me with 4 triangles. Okay. All right, and from this point forward, we can get ready to set our blocks. For some reason. Okay. Now the next step, you can only do one side at a time with this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold my block in half and then finger press the center. Okay, and then I will fold the triangle in half and do the same thing. So this is the long side of the triangle that I'm folding in half, and this is on the bias of the fabric because we cut it on that diagonal. I don't think that it matters that much, but I am trying to be a little bit more gentle with it. We're going to match centers here, and then I'm going to pin it. I don't do a lot of pinning, but this time I am going to pin a pretty good bit. And so I pin from the center out one way and then from the center out another way, just to make sure that that the edges stay together. That's what I'm most concerned with, that the raw edge here stays together. Alright, so I did the down, and then I'll go up. And since these aren't perfect, sometimes you might have to tweak it a little bit, like that when you have to tweak some, just to make sure that the edges match. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you still want to do the best that you can do. Okay. And then one more here. So what I'll do is I'm going to sew this side for both pieces. I'm going to sew it for both the green and the blue, and I'm actually going to put the green first, so that'll be the piece that we're focusing on from this point out. So I put a triangle on the first side. Now I'm going to go to the opposite side and do the same thing, and then I will press both triangles out open. Now we have the block halfway done. We're going to do the same thing that we did, folding in half for each one and pressing, finger pressing here, and then folding the block, finger pressing, pinning, stitching, and rolling back. Well, I'm going to do that for both sides, and then I'll come back and show you. This is the finished block. I just love the way it came out. I love that it is huge. I still will need to cut it down, and like right now it still has these little flaps and all that. So I'll cut it down after I've made all of them so I can see what size they're going to finish. I want to show, I made another one at the same time. Actually, I'll show 2 of them. The first one, these are both from the shirting. This is the one that I just made along with the green one. And I don't know if you can tell that the pattern is going in different directions. I don't know how this one ended up wrong, but you know, whatever. I decided I can live with it. So this is the one with all of the patterns going the same way, and it's still, you know, it's just a beautiful little block, or beautiful big block. I'm really excited to put all this together. I can't wait to see it in a big quilt. So if you're interested in that, please stay tuned to my channel. Thank you for watching. Thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye!